Right. I've been remembering to take that off, the Ocala off before recording constantly for like a year. And just had to take it off just while saying the first bit. But I need to be crystal clear, you see. There can't be any jingling or jangling, because we got very important matters to discuss. Conrad knows. I sent him a photo of the material. So, we've talked about it on Podquisition. We've talked about it on the Spin-Off Doctors, which is on a brief hiatus. Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich.
Classic.
Classic. One of my favourite bad films of all time. Absolutely genius. If you want to see a film about Nazi puppets, where a puppet aerial drone decapitates someone on the toilet, and one character says he's got 6 million reasons to fight the Nazi puppets. It's a film. And I now own a piece of cinema history because I've gotten my hands on one of the puppets' heads. The actual head from the film.
I need to see this. Which puppet head do you possess?
The thing is on its own, it doesn't look like I've got anything special. So I've sent you it. Now you're going to think it's just a skull.
I mean, it does look like just a skull.
Yeah.
But we know more. You know more.
Oh, I know more. I've got a certificate.
Yeah.
I've got
a certificate.
And I can point to the very, very faint trace amounts of special effects blood that's still on its lower jaw.
Oh, I think I found a picture. Does this one have a hook for a hand in the film?
Yes.
Yeah,
it is
I worked out which one it is.
So it's Blade, sort of the famous one, but it's not the famous version. The Littlest Reich was sort of a reboot, and so they kind of redesigned a lot of the characters. I like the original Blade is like the best one, but I like the creepy gaunt zombie look that it has in The Littlest Reich. Oh god, I love saying that. The film is just such nonsense. I can't recommend it enough. It sounds like it will be shit, and it sort of is, but it's glorious.
It really is.
Imagine like all the nonsense of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, but with a lot of jokes done on purpose.
Yeah, it's so self-aware about what it's doing, and it is quite clearly trying to be as much a comedy or more a comedy than a horror film.
Oh, absolutely. And shockingly, a lot of the humor works so long as you buy into the premise that the film is garbage, trying harder than it should. It's great. But yes, there are a couple of different Blades in the film, and one has a skull head, and I have that head. Yeah, that's just what I've got now. Resin, quite heavy. Got a nice, like, hole bored in the neck, so I could construct a body. I might make an approximal body and shove it on. But I love my skull.
When you bought it, you sent me a message, and I think at the time you were still hovering over the buy button as to whether or not you were going to make this purchase, but I didn't see the message for like 12 hours. So I didn't know whether to be proud of you for showing self-restraint or proud of you for owning a piece of cinema history.
Yeah, and that is exactly what your message was. And I can't remember what I said, but it was something along the lines of just, yeah, I got it.
You got the skull.
I had to get the skull.
There's no world in which you would have walked away. Let's be honest.
That is true. I had to.
I'm still pissed. I had set aside a link to buy bison dollars.
Oh, yeah.
And then by the time I got around to coming back to buy them, they were gone. So you have to pull that trigger when you see it.
You really do. You really do. The frothing Littlest Reich fan base. It's a competitive.
Both of us.
Market. Oh, yeah. We're forever locked in Mortal Kombat Annihilation to snap up as much Littlest Reich memorabilia. Don't say that's what you're doing in mixed company. Would you like to see my Littlest Reich memorabilia?
Well, it's better than owning a large collection of full-size Reich memorabilia.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
to be fair, Littlest Reich memorabilia is harder to get. There's less of it.
That's true. That
It's
is
so
true. That's the problem with the National Socialist Party, is market saturation.
Actually, that was the problem, though, if you think about it. They were trying to saturate the market completely.
That is true.
Welcome to Podquisition.
I've got a resin skull!
I'm providing us an exit ramp here. Welcome to Podquisition. Video games are
Sorry, my
what we do
axis
here.
ramp wasn't enough for you. Oh, God, just be careful just one last thing, be careful if you get Puppet Master memorabilia, because some of them do have swastikas on them. There's a werewolf with an armband, so steer clear of that one. Right.
Who's played video games this week?
Oh, God, we played a few between us.
Yeah.
I played one.
Yeah.
I've been working this week. I played one.
I believe I've played this one as well.
I think I've probably played it also, but I didn't say anything.
Well, you've played several stuff this week. You've played like a handful. So do you wanna start us off?
I could
this week?
throw one out. Yeah, and I really would like to throw this one out. Star Wars Hunters came to Switch, iOS and Android this week, which always a good sign when the hot new Star Wars game for Nintendo Switch is also on the mobile platforms. And would you know it, it's a free-to-play mobile fucking game.
So see, here's all I knew about it. It's appeared in like 4 different Nintendo Directs, and every single one of them had a CGI trailer with no gameplay, which is what put me onto the track that this probably wasn't going to be for me.
Yes, they were right to do that from a cynical marketing perspective. If you wanted to get people interested in the game, not showing gameplay is a smart, if deceptive, duplicitous move. It is a hero shooter, 4-on-4, very brief matches, very short, very small maps. It's as bargain basement as you can get. Like, each character has like 1 or 2 abilities and guns that are just not fun to play. Like, it's basic third-person shooting, rudimentary third-person shooting. None of it feeling sort of very fun. It's all a bit janky, all a bit... Not even janky, just mediocre, just archaic. There's so little going on. You know, this could have been a 360 game, like a pre-Gears of War third-person shooter even. It's so unrefined and vulgar. And that is before we get to the monetization. I've already drafted the review. I was able to draft the review the day I played the game. There was so little going on, and there's so little impetus for me to ever want to play it again. Such choice words in the review are the epitome of hostile game design and vicious little cunt of a game, which is what this game is. It is hostile, malicious, and vicious. It is monetized to fuck, following a formula that mobile freemium developers have now gotten down to a horrifying science. You can see the deliberate mess they're making. The menu screen alone. Like, the first screenshot I'm showing in the review is the menu screen, because it says it all. The picture's worth 1,000 words. There are about 1,000 words in the fucking picture. There are so many options and things to click on all over the screen. Obviously, there's a section in the corner dedicated just to ads. The game has pop-up ads for itself. In between matches, you'll get a splash screen telling you, oh, buy this. Here's a new pack on the fucking store. Get crystals. It's always fucking crystals. Loads of different, events, social incentives, fucking unlocks, and daily challenges, and it's just thrown on screen in a very deliberate mess. It looks sloppy. To the untrained eye, you'd say, God, they had no one working on this user interface. They had no one knew what they were doing. This is hodgepodge. That is very deliberate Confusopoly tactics. It's so blatant. as typified by the fact that, you know how if you play like a hero shooter or another multiplayer shooter with characters and classes, when you go back to the main menu, the character you've chosen and selected will be on screen? Not with this. It'll show you almost exclusively characters you've not unlocked, wearing cosmetics you don't have. They're just another advert, another in-game advert for itself. The characters, this is the juicy plum, all the characters are locked. You start with one. Admittedly, you unlock a second shortly after that. The rest, good luck grinding, you cunt. They are all locked. You start the game with one, and then shortly two, and then you spend a while with two. If you get to 3 without being bored, and you will have seen it all, gameplay-wise, after 3 matches, if you're still with it, you'll eventually unlock a third. And that'll be it for, ages. A roster of 3 characters that everybody else has, because it's a linear unlock path that everyone's on. So, launch day, it's 4 teams of the same characters. And as the day goes on, you see more where people are unlocking them in a linear fucking fashion. Which, by the way, remember, this is a hero shooter. All the characters are also different classes, different roles. If you want a support character, which is, the kind of one I always play, that's the third unlock. That's you playing for ages. With I forget the class of the bounty hunter one, but let's just say assault. It's more or less that. Assault and a tank. If you don't like those, you can go fuck yourself. You're going to have to grind for it. Or spend 1,000 crystals. The premium currency that, of course, is sold in bundles up to $99.99 because the video game industry is the worst. That's about the size of it. The support character I unlocked is fucking awful. Her blaster pistol is like a pea shooter. It's horrible to use. And you don't really get a lot of points for doing support either. So where you would think, well, she hasn't got a good gun, but, she's throwing heal grenades down because she's about as bog standard as you get. And that's all she does. She can do a dodge roll, throw heal grenades, and plinky plonky blaster that's more or less not worth using. And that's all it is. And the characters are all like this. One gimmick you've seen in another game, and maybe a second thing. And they've got ultimates, but they're a load of crap. The support one I was interested in is the Rhodian, who is so far down the fucking unlock track, I will never play her. Because I'm never going to get there. Because I'm done. And even if I was going to stick it out, I'd have given up before getting there. If for no other reason, although there are many, than to avoid the psychological manipulation, which I was already feeling because it's oppressive. It is oppressive and hostile and malicious. It is disgusting. I do not know how any hack fuck could be proud of it. If they've the slightest shred of artistic integrity that hasn't been burned out of them yet. And I'm pleased by how insulting and unprofessional my review is, because professionalism is reserved for game developers, not predators. That is Star Wars Hunters 7 out of 10.
Well.
Sounds pretty shit.
Yeah.
It's pretty shit. I'm not gonna lie. No, it is bad. Even the art style. It's just Fortnite again. Because that's what they all look like now. They all just look like a knockoff Fortnite. This inoffensive cartoon style. This sanitized, colourful but not vibrant art style. That was fine for Fortnite, but they've applied it to so many games now.
It's the art style of nothing can be too distinct in case we want to add something else from extended canon into it that won't look out of place.
Yeah! Yes. A one-size-fits-all art style.
Yeah, you've got to be able to plug literally any character into it and them still look okay in the hopes that this will be a forever game.
Yeah, which this won't. The Star Wars name is probably going to carry it for a little bit longer than most. But even then, I mean, who's to say? Like, the amount of Final Fantasy games and shit that are shut down. And this is a particularly boring Star Wars game. So even if it's got fans right now, I think they will drop off, even if they like it somehow, because there's nothing there. There's no meat on those bones. The characters do so little, and the matches are nothing burgers. You've got, like, 2 match types, fucking basic deathmatch and fucking basic domination control point fucking stuff. And that's it. As I say, the maps are small, there's nothing going on in them, they're all empty and lifeless. It's not like there are, like, cool aliens, like, hanging around near cantinas and stuff. There is a cantina in the game. There's a couple of, like, neon lights in there and some plinky-plonky music. Oh, I didn't even mention the music! It seems as if Zynga was given the rights to do the Star Wars game, but weren't given the rights to use any of the music. So it's got knockoff music in it. If you select the Stormtrooper, it does this crude, legally distinct version of the Imperial March. It's like da 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 da. It's fucking brilliant. It's the best part. It's the only good part of the game, is the fact that there is no recognizable music in it. I don't think there is a single track that the average fan would know, and I'm pretty sure there's not even obscure stuff. I'm pretty sure it's all original, done to ape it. Which, you know, can happen. There have been many licensed games with, like, based on licenses with iconic music that doesn't make it in.
Sure.
You know, quite a few Turtles fans have been disappointed by some of those. It's just fucking... the quality so low and the greed so high. It truly is one of the closer games we get into just money for nothing. Just they want money for fuck all. Also, the Mandalorian character, the one a lot of people would want to play as because The Mandalorian is a hit show, the character they've put front and center in their marketing isn't on the unlock track. He is premium purchase only.
Yeah.
It is disgusting. Right, I'm done.
What about you, Conrad? You played anything this week?
Yeah, I played a couple of things. So I was at my local thrift store this past week, just doing a pass-through. I try to get there every week or so, because the inventory changes constantly, and you just fucking never know what you're going to find in there. Just bizarre delights of all kinds. And as I was passing by their selection of board games, I spotted something that looked intriguing, called Burgle Bros. And they had it for $5, and at $5, I will take a chance on just about any game. It is a heist game where you build the board out of tiles. There will be a 4x4 grid of tiles representing rooms and 8 walls separating them on up to 3 floors that you're attempting to explore. The goal is to move about the board, find the location of the safe on each floor, crack it open, and escape the roof of the building before you get spotted by guards. And so every turn, you get a few actions. You can move into rooms. If you haven't explored them yet, they get revealed. And sometimes moving into a room without knowing what's in it has consequences. You can also spend an action to just look into the next adjoining room and see what it is in advance. And then there are a couple of other, like, little minor actions that can be performed. But that's basically the gist of it. And after every turn, the guards move using a deck of cards that's specific to them. You get to see where they're going to move to. And you get to see how many steps they're going to take on a given move. And once they reach that location, you draw from the deck and it gives you another location that they will move to on this grid. And so it's some very basic movement rules for them that make it a really challenging, interesting puzzle to play through. It's cooperative. You can play it with up to 4 people. And It's very, very clever. And then I discovered that there is a video game adaptation of it. This game came out in 2015. It was kickstarted by a small games company in Utah that has had a number of games come out since, and they all look pretty interesting. I'm going to check into them more. But then they made a digital version of it in 2017 for mobile and ported it to Steam. So on mobile, it's like $5, and on Steam, it's $4. So I still paid the same price for the physical board game, as I then later turned around and spent on a digital version. It's simplistic. You know, it's clearly a made-for-mobile port, but all of the mechanics are there. There's no setup, and it's quick and easy to get into. So UI things aside that I would probably like some more refinement of, it works really well, and it's worth getting if you're curious about the board game. I hadn't heard of this, but now I'm fucking hooked. It's a very clever, really challenging game that, yeah, there's a lot of RNG that factors into it, and it can feel like you're just getting screwed sometimes, and sometimes you are. Your layout of the rooms might create a situation where it's very hard to get past a guard with the available abilities to you. But on the whole, it's just a very challenging and extremely satisfying game to accomplish. I really like it. I encourage people to check it out. There is a sequel game. They've only got a standard board game version where you're robbing a casino. I'm looking forward to playing that. It's pretty cool. Burgle Bros. Yeah, go play it. It's fun. If you like board game stuff, go play it. It's fun. Yeah.
Neat.
That is that sounds like well worth the $5.
Yeah, and it's got a really cool aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've only played one thing this week because I've been real busy, but you've played it, Steph, and it sounds like you might have as well, Conrad.
I have.
I made some time to play some Nightmare Kart this week.
Indeed.
Which is legally distinct from any other property you might be thinking of. Don't worry about any other properties about spooky people and menstrual cycles and death. No, it's completely unrelated.
Of course it's original. He's called Father Gregory. Like,
Father Gregory, who would that even be?
100% legally distinct from anything you might have heard of. Like, all those people fucking saying it was lifted off of Legacy of Kain. Like, no, it's not. So, yes.
Unlike Legacy of Kain, I only played Bloodborne for like 4 hours.
So yeah, for anyone who's not played this, Nightmare Kart is from the person that brought us Bloodborne demade for the PS1, and this is a completely separate project in no way associated.
Mm-hmm.
The easy thing is to say that this is Mario Kart, but it's not.
It's not.
There's a bit more to it.
It's got the fundamental aesthetic of Mario Kart, and when I say that, I don't mean the art style. The trappings.
The music, though.
The music, the vibe. Let's just use that word. The vibe.
Like, just starting with the Mario Kart bit of it before we get into any of the other stuff.
Yeah.
I am honestly impressed at how well this game, A, feels really good and very authentic to like a Mario Kart, like some of the better kart races of the era it is sort of aping. But that it's not one-to-one copying mechanics. It's got some really nice little tweaks to the kart racing format that I think set it apart nicely on its own.
Oh yeah, it's doing its own things.
Yeah.
It's why I'm actually glad, sort of. I know that they wanted it to be Bloodborne Kart.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of glad that it had to become its own thing, because the game does deserve that. It does deserve to stand completely on its own.
To talk through some of the kart racing mechanics that are a little unique that I think do genuinely interesting things. You know how in Mario Kart you do your drifting, and immediately upon exiting a drift you get a boost in speed? This has a lot of mechanics that are very similar, but have sort of delayed gratification of boost or of speed increase. So when you do your drift and you successfully come out of your big long drift, you get a resource which can be spent at a time of your choosing for a boost. And you get lots of little things like this, like you can do a spin while in midair if you've got off a jump, and that again gives you a resource that you can use later and gives you sort of delayed access to boosts when you need them, not necessarily when you earn them. There is a weapon system that is very much like your sort of Mario Kart pick up the item box. I like that there is auto-targeting to a degree on a lot of the weapons, but my favourite thing about the weapons is, let's say you get your little random weapon and it's a shotgun with 2 ammo. If you fire 1 shotgun shot and don't use the other one and pick up another item box, it will refill your currently equipped item. Which means that if there is a weapon you particularly want, just don't run it down to completely empty and you can keep topping it back up at item boxes. Little tweaks like this do a lot to make it feel like it has its own sense of identity, and I think that really helps. And then you have the mechanics around how your vehicle works that are much more aimed at the not kart racing bits, because this has battle mode and capture the flag and boss fights.
The battling works really well, like, because of, like, the melee attacks that you can get and the firearms and the way they lock. Yeah, I was surprised, because I've never been a fan of those in, like, Mario Kart and stuff, and I was like, oh god, here we go. But that was, like, almost more fun than the racing.
I think the thing that makes the battle mode work as well as it does, and it's the same thing that I think really works for the boss fights in the campaign mode, is that you have essentially like an on-the-spot handbrake turn. If you do the accelerate and brake at the same time, if you're, like, in a race and you're trying to do a sharp turn, cool, you can do a, like, sharp handbrake turn. But you can also use it to essentially just turn around 360 degrees on the spot, rather than having to do a big arcing turn to face where you're trying to go. Which means it's almost more like certain space aerial combat games, in that you have the ability to, like, pivot on the spot rather than playing the cat and mouse game to try and line up your shot. And I think that really makes it easier to go, cool, I'm gonna, like, drive past the boss, fire off a couple of shots at them, do a proper U-turn to be facing the enemy again rather than having to sort of bank around, so there's not a lot of time in which I'm not facing the enemy and seeing if they're going to do a big attack against me. But for battle mode, it means you can be precise. If someone goes just past you, you can get that turn in properly to aim at them. And it makes me enjoy battle mode a lot more than I do with Mario Kart.
Yeah, there's a lot to enjoy. I found the second stage of the Father Gregory fight to... Ooh. That's all I'll say about that. Ooh.
I enjoyed it once I got my head around how to keep Father Gregory in view and to not be like, this is just a hunting this is just a searching section.
It was more, if he touches you, you might as well put the controller down. Like, he will just one-shot you. I found it kind of frustrating.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, it just, every time, just hack, and that was it. Like just combo me to death. Like, couldn't do out about it. But it is a well-done fight. Certainly that first half, I really like that first half, like, especially with the chase first.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I haven't gotten much further, because I'm waiting for the Steam release that hasn't been fucking certified yet. I got it on itch, but I want to play it on my Steam Deck.
So if you want to play a game that you got on itch on the Steam Deck, it's slightly fiddly, but basically you go to desktop mode, open Steam in desktop mode on the Steam Deck, and add a non-Steam game, and you just go find the EXE
Oh, is it that easy?
you got off of itch.io. Yeah, and then it'll show up you go back to gaming mode, and it shows up as a gaming mode.
Because I knew there would be a way, because you can get, like, so much running on it. But because I'm me, I just assumed it would be too fiddly for me to do, so I've waited for Steam.
Yeah, go to desktop mode, open Steam on desktop mode, add a non-Steam game, and then go back to gaming mode.
Alright, I'll give that a go then. I do hope it gets unlocked, though, because I know, like, Lilith's been fucking impatient. Like, impatient, been very patient, actually, but... you know, anxious about it.
As someone who has recently been going back and forth with Steam backend stuff for the AA showcase, I send my sympathies. It is a process.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about little mechanics in this game that I really like. And one of them that's really, really minor. In battle mode, if you want to turn around really quickly, one of the best ways to do it is to drive the wrong way into a speed boosting ramp. because it'll just 180 you and fire you very fast as if you'd come off the ramp back the other way.
Oh.
Which you can use as just like, the first battle mode is in a room with like 4 of these, 1 at each corner, and you just use it as a quick, like, 180 turnaround. And I'm like, that's really cool. I don't know how intentional a mechanic that is, but it felt very satisfying to do. I like the narrative stuff they're doing, and I like the way the campaign builds, and I like how it slowly adds more stuff that you have availability for your vehicles. Oftentimes when you get a game that is born as a gimmick idea, the gimmick idea has to do the legwork of carrying it.
Yes.
But I think Nightmare Kart's mechanics do a lot to carry themselves separated from the gimmick that inspired the game.
One of the things I criticise with games is basically built off of that, where the joke of the game was shown in the trailer, and that's all you need. Sort of similar to how Full Moon Studios does its films. I've talked about Head of the Family before, which is just a film about a man who is mostly a giant head, and he has a family. And that's it, you don't need to watch the film. Joke's over. You have heard the joke of the film. And this could have been that. It's like, oh, what if Bloodborne but Mario Kart? Okay, cool. I have now heard the joke, I don't need to play the game. But no, the game is fucking solid. Very much like Bloodborne PSX, which was also worth it. You know, you can just see like a 30-second clip of it and be like, haha, that's cute. Or you can play it and be fucking impressed by like how accurate it is, which becomes its own treat. And this one, how it takes that concept and just does a really fucking good game in its own right with it.
Yeah, I'm having a good time with it. I'm glad it has turned out as solid an experience as it has.
Also, I dig the changes that have been made to the to the character models and stuff.
Yes.
The French-made, white-painted doll is especially cute. It is a shame about the messengers, just because I love messengers. Like, I find them hideously adorable as a boggling collector. The eyeballs on little bodies is cute, but it's not quite as appealing. But otherwise, like, it looks really nice. It that gothic PSX aesthetic again, absolutely nailed.
Yeah. What about you, Steph? You been playing anything else this week?
I mentioned it last week, but I have played another one, Lunacid. This was done by Kira, who is mostly known, I think, for Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion. They've also done like a lot of like experimental stuff. I've been watching a lot of like YouTube videos lately about obscure games, creepy games that sort of use the medium to do something proper eerie. I was turned on to Lunacid by watching stuff about I can't remember the bloody name now. But they've done a series of like fake abandoned games, like an MMO that wasn't finished and has no players, and an SNES game that like has placeholder assets and stuff, like using the aesthetic of an abandoned game to be fucking creepy, and it's like shockingly effective. Lunacid is a more standard game in terms of how it's played and what it's doing. It doesn't get too freaky with its mechanics or anything. It's essentially a modern-day King's Field kind of thing. It's a dungeon crawler. You are exploring various locations. It's been compared to Dark Souls a bit as well. In terms of mood and in terms of how some of the levels are structured, I'd say yes, but otherwise not so much. I don't know if either of you remember Dread Delusion. It's a game I was talking about a couple years ago. It did the rounds in the underground sort of area. It wasn't a massive thing. But Dread Delusion was this game that sort of had a kind of Morrowind graphical style, and very weird character designs and stuff. And that's very much Lunacid's thing as well. Looks a bit Morrowindy in terms of graphics, but is very Kingsfield, Demon Souls in terms of mood and sort of architecture and stuff. It's really good. I've been fucking hooked. So long as you don't do a melee build, because the game just for some reason was not designed around it. I re-rolled a character because I first started trying to hit stuff, but the hack and slash is not very good, and so many enemies don't take physical damage that you're being bottlenecked so much into it. I don't know why they didn't just go like full hex and just be like, fuck it, spells. The spells are really cool. There's some really inventive ones. Some of them do nothing useful. There is one that can turn inanimate objects into living things. They just shake and scream because they can't comprehend their own existence. So if you see like a smashable part, you cast a spell on it, it just falls over and starts shrieking. The enemy designs are fucking weird and like really cool. Yeah, it's just really engrossing. I'd say my biggest sort of criticism outside of melee stuff is some of the maze-like levels. There's a lot of mazes and stuff that I just, because of my spatial awareness issues, I just get lost. It's taken me a lot longer to get through the game than it would someone with a better memory and better spatial awareness. But otherwise, I really would recommend it to anyone who wants something kind of weird and retro feeling, but with some modern concession. The writings that is in it, because it's all very lore-based and stuff, obviously, but the writing that's in it is nice. Got some dark comedy and stuff in it. Lots of secrets. Loads of melee weapons that all behave very differently, as well as, like, various combat spells, like being able to shoot lightning, or being able to, like, send a wave of fire, being able to summon a fairy, being able to shoot your own blood out at something, which I actually think is just puzzles it's used for. Because that's also another thing, is using your level ups and your spells to solve various issues. One interesting thing is if you level up Dex, it not only increases your ranged weapon damage, it increases your jump as well. So if you dump enough points into Dex, you can jump up to reach alcoves on the wall for little shortcuts and stuff. Speed has its own stat that you upgrade, and it's well worth it, because zipping about, especially when there are some enemies that you're kind of outclassed by, is actually really useful. The atmosphere of it is gorgeous. The moody, kind of intimidating, dark feeling of it is great. And the music, I love it when game composers are also game developers, because it usually means their games have fucking great soundtracks. And this one has that. Really gorgeous. Kind of very quiet and reserved a lot of the time, but just perfectly evocative. Yeah, if you like little weird indie games and you like this style of game that seems to be coming out, like Dread Delusion and Lunacid and stuff, that kind of Morrowind-y looking game, I couldn't recommend enough at least checking it out, like taking a look at it. I am a big fan of it. Yeah, really, really well done stuff.
Yeah. What about you, Comrade? You played anything else this week?
I keep getting sucked into moving out. I play, a little bit of it every day. Just moving out too, I guess, is what it is. And, the different worlds in that have some really, really clever puzzle designs. And then they have some incredibly frustrating ones, like the one I'm on right now, where I have to move items sorted into two different spaces using conveyor belts to move them. But the conveyor belts are also bridges over a waterfall of chocolate, and I can't drop any of the things into the chocolate. So I keep having to cross all of these things, and some of the things slide really easily. It's a pain in the ass. I'm gonna do it, god damn it. But that's been my week. It's shit like that. It's finding these little bonus objectives in here and then feeling obligated to do them. That's been my week. So that's it.
Yeah. I've not played anything else this week. Steph, you got any other ones before we do the news?
I mean, I played a game called Soulstone Survivors. It's another Survivors game, but it's one of the good ones. Not a lot to say about it. It's got a really nice art style, very sort of colourful and cartoony, but not in the Fortnite way. Really easy to break. Not since Vampire Survivors have I played one of these games where I feel like I filled the screen with brilliant special effects garbage, but you can really go to town with this one. Like, you can end up with an area of effect ring around you that basically is the screen. Like, as soon as an enemy's on screen, they start taking damage or whatever the effect is. The builds you can make are really fun. It's got that nice touch that some of these games have, where each character has its own bespoke weapon to start with, and each one is tailored to a very particular build. And that also influences what kind of upgrades they get. Like, if you're the paladin, I think you're not going to get any, like, chaos-based skills. And all the skills are like that. Each one belongs to a particular class. Like, you've got thrust skills, and you've got nature skills, and holy skills. And some really nice synergies, like if you have several different types of skill, one of the upgrades you will almost certainly be offered is something that is, like, say, for every holy skill you have, every skill that isn't holy has its stats increased, which sort of encourages you to play around and not just stick to a certain type, although that is also rewarded. So anything you do, really, can be turned into something incredibly broken, which I think is to its credit, because honestly, that's, like, what we play these games for in the end, is to get to that point. And as a result, it does trade in some of the longevity. This isn't helped by the fact that the music is really boring. It's not good music at all, and you kind of need a good tune in these games to sort of help keep you on that hook. And after a while, even with the character variety, every round starts feeling the same. But it is a lot of fun. It is a real visual treat. So yeah, if you're still not, like, full up on all of these games, Soulstone Survivors is one of the good ones, TM. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. We got a couple of newsy bits for this week. Let's have a look. Where do we want to start? Oh, Steph, in your Silent Hill 2 video this week, you were talking about PlayStation VR2 being completely and utterly forgotten by Sony, and them just not acknowledging it exists.
I think they did acknowledge, like, I saw a trailer for a VR game, at least. The general consensus seems to be that Sony's given up on it already, which, looking at their sort of history with the portable market, would follow their sort of MO. I was taking the piss a bit in the video when I sort of celebrated it, because I don't really care. Like, you know, it is neat tech, but it is so prohibitive and I can't play it, so I don't.
Yeah, I come to it from a perspective of, like, I fucking love what that tech does, but a lot of the things I love about it are things that are very specific to, if all of its abilities are being actually utilized, I think it is fascinating. Wish there was more fucking games that supported it. But people might finally be able to get a bit more use out of their PSVR 2 if they have one, because Sony have announced an adapter that you can buy for £50 to connect your PSVR 2 to your PC and use it as a PC VR headset for, like, Steam VR games.
I mean, if you love VR, like, if you really love VR, considering what an absolute fuck about the Steam VR stuff was, because I remember I was sent one of those to review way back in the day, and it was fucking horrible setting that up. And I never wanted to put it on. It was heavy and clunky and garbage. Whereas, you know, I used the original PSVR, again, for, like, review stuff, and the games that didn't immediately give me a migraine, it's a lot better. A lot more user-friendly, let's say, than a lot of VR. So I could see that being worth it for those who really like VR.
It's an awkward proposition, because, like, as someone that owns a PSVR 2, I like that headset a lot. And if I wanted to play a PC VR game, of the headsets, I have a few headsets around the house. This honestly is what I would probably prefer to use. It has a really nice resolution and field of view on it. The controllers are really nice. That's great. I will note, about half of the features that make the PSVR 2 interesting aren't going to work on PC. It is the thing.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
HDR, high dynamic range, the feedback rumble in the headset, the eye tracking, the adaptive triggers, the haptic feedback in the controllers, none of those will work on PC. But it is still, it's a pretty affordable 4K VR headset with, 110 degree field of view, which is pretty good, and that doesn't require you to set stuff up around the room, because the headset itself does the tracking. This mainly feels like a patch, like them trying to paper over the fact that because PSVR 2 didn't sell well out of the gate, no one's making ports of the popular VR games to PS5. So they're like, oh, did you buy this and you're upset that you can't play insert popular VR game that other platforms have? Just fucking plug it in a PC. PC's got them. You can play them over there because the devs won't bring them to PlayStation. It feels like that's what this is.
Yeah. that tracks, it makes sense. To charge 50 quid for it and then have so many missing features, it's not really gonna help, is it? We all know this, but someone was paid to come up with that idea. And we know this isn't gonna work for them.
I can think of niche use cases I might have for this, but I don't think this is going to be the thing that gets PSVR2 to suddenly start selling better so that more people bother porting stuff to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. As someone who loves that headset, it's got a real uphill climb on its hands, and I don't think this is going to be the thing that fixes that. Other news. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, we talked about how $400,000 of PlayDate consoles were stolen?
Yes.
So they've been retrieved.
They were just left.
That they were. It's not like they went and, caught the people who did it and wrestled them back out of like a warehouse where they were being hidden. They just showed up on the front steps of a restaurant with no warning.
You gotta wonder, like, what happened. Did they find that they couldn't, like, shift that many and were just like, this is more trouble than it's worth? Did they play one and be like, I don't like this? Was it a protest? Like, what was the...
So, here's what I can put together from what they've said, and then what I assume is the case. These consoles got accidentally delivered to a building site rather than Playdate's office, and someone decided to chance it and go, I see that says video game somewhere on the side of it, I'll fucking nick those, because no one seems to be paying attention. The problem they probably came across is, and we brought this up when this story originally happened, every Playdate system has, like, a specific serial number that you have to register with Playdate to start. To get that catalogue of, like, first batch of games, you have to go online and go, yes, hello, I own this Playdate. They knew the serial numbers for all of the stolen consoles, which probably meant it wouldn't be that hard for, let's say, Playdate to revoke access to those ones working, whoever bought them to go back and complain to who sold them, and for it to quickly become apparent, we're not going to be able to sell these, they're going to get shut down the second they go online. And that would be my guess as to why they went, it's not worth us holding on to $400,000 of stolen property that we're going to get people coming back to us complaining doesn't work. So yeah, apparently Playdate's going to give more details about exactly what went down in the near future, but about the best result they could have hoped for, that just some random restaurant found a shit ton of Playdates on their doorstep and worked out who to contact to say, we have your consoles.
Yeah, I mean, glad they got them back, I guess.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And honestly surprised it played out this way. Well done, whoever stole them, for going, probably not fucking worth it, is it?
Yeah.
Other stuff we got this week. You know how game developers are constantly complaining that video games don't make enough money and they need more money, and the video game industry is just not growing as much as they need it to. We need more money. Sony's called the PlayStation 5 its most profitable game console generation to date.
Oh, yes. I was on the fence whether Monday would be about Silent Hill 2 or this, but, that's what multiple Mondays are for. What the fuck? Profitable.
Yeah.
This isn't revenue. This is profit, aka wage theft.
It is both. They've eclipsed the revenue of the PS4 already, but also the profit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
one would assume often hand in hand, but specifically mentioning profit here because that's all money that they skim for themselves and stuff.
Yeah. So the PS4's lifetime profit for PlayStation was $9 billion. PS5's at $10 billion already, like halfway through the generation. So, yeah, it's not like they're hurting for money.
We've got to remember the famous quote from Naughty Dog that was issued justifying microtransactions while Nathan Drake was shilling for Subway at the time. At some point, games have got to make money. Amazing. That was like 10 years ago, and they still, to this day, try and trot out the same excuse that we're supposed to believe that a company explicitly built to make and sell games can't make money making and selling games. At which point, one would reasonably have to ask, what the fuck are you doing in this business then? In fact, how are you still in business since you can't afford to do business? It's such obvious propaganda, and it sucks that it's been so unchallenged except by, like, we damned few, that they still feel no shame trotting it out because people swallow it. The phrase support the developers has been such an abused term because, no, buying microtransactions doesn't support the developer. Even buying the game doesn't. When it's layoff time, nothing will save them. Nothing. Most profitable generation. Profit. That's what will go in executive pockets. Not back to the people who, like, made the products that make the money, like it should. In their fucking pockets. And they will then turn around and plead poverty. Disgusting.
Yeah. And the last one we got. You know when Microsoft was trying to buy Activision Blizzard King, and one of the big sticking points for regulators was Call of Duty ending up on Game Pass would really, really sort of tip the scales towards Game Pass being a monopoly in the game streaming subscription space.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's the biggest game in the world. It's a huge draw for their walled garden. That's a real threat. But thankfully, that's not...
Well, they put those things in. They put measures in place to make sure that wouldn't be the case.
Exactly.
You know, they gave, at least in Europe, they gave Ubisoft the licensing rights for the streaming rights for Call of Duty. So if Xbox wanted it on Game Pass, they would have to buy those rights from Ubisoft, and Ubisoft would definitely be impartial in who it would sell those rights to, and Call of Duty is coming day one to Game Pass, and seemingly not to competing services like PlayStation Plus.
What? What? That's wild.
Yeah, Call of Duty day one on Game Pass. What? Oh, shit.
How did this happen? How could they have possibly done an end run around regulators like this? Why, my gosh.
But Microsoft said. But Microsoft said. I love it.
Yeah. Now, I say day one on Game Pass.
It would be more like day -3 because people will buy the fucking special edition to fucking get it 3 days early.
That's what I was going to say, is Xbox in particular this last year has really been on a tread of the... they'll say day one on Game Pass, but then if you buy the special edition, you can get it a few days before Game Pass does.
Yeah, it's like, which one of the day ones is it, you cunts?
Yeah, but we all saw this coming. There's no world in which they weren't going to push as much money as they needed to get Call of Duty day one on Game Pass. Because even if it's going to cost Xbox money to make this happen, the end result is the thing they want, which is we bought Activision Blizzard King, and now you see Call of Duty day one on Game Pass. This will solidify the idea in your head that Call of Duty is Xbox, and that Game Pass is the streaming place for Call of Duty. They only need to do it this first year to set that thing in mind. The acquisition means that Call of Duty is day one on Game Pass, and that's going to stick.
Yep.
In no way surprised that it's happening, but that is an occurrence. So yeah, I think that's all the news.
Well, there's one other thing that I wanted to bring up that happened. We should have talked about it last week, and it just completely slipped my mind. Atari bought Intellivision.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, this was grand.
Now this is one of those, for me as a kid growing up when both of these companies were going concerns in any real fashion, the idea of one acquiring the other would have seemed more monumental than it does now. Now it's one shitty brand shell company buying up the assets of another vacant shell company. But what is kind of fun about this is that in this deal, which includes all of the Intellivision licensing rights and intellectual property, one bit didn't get through, which was the most recent Intellivision project, the Amico. That is remaining with its original owners and will be spun off into its own company for production. So the Amico was so shit, Atari didn't want it.
Yes.
A product's got to be pretty shit for you to go, I don't want you to even, like, bundle it in.
Yeah.
I won't just, like, take it for free off your hands.
I mean, the announcement just... It looked like pure shade, because it really was, we have acquired this, we have not acquired this. So good. I like to think Tommy Tallarico, the fucking con merchant, was relieved as hell by the sale before finding out they didn't want that albatross round his fucking neck. It's funny because I only recently, I think a couple days before this came out, I'd rewatched H-Bomber Guy's, fucking brilliant video on Tommy Tallarico and his bullshit. So yeah, it's just grand to see, and he deserves it. He has had 3 crowdfunding campaigns for this fucking system. He has repeatedly lied about it, and so many other things. He used lies about his own achievements to get this thing any sort of traction. The man is a con merchant and a liar, and he took everyone involved with that console for a goddamn ride. And he deserves to have it as a millstone around his neck forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
That about sums it up.
Oh, we do have one last very quick thing. You know how you were saying you were waiting for Nightmare Kart to come to Steam?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have to fuck around with the itch.io version. Literally, while we're recording the show today, Nightmare Kart is now on Steam.
Well, what the heck are we doing here? Laura, please
Literally
tell
as
everyone
of 3 minutes ago.
about your stuff coming up.
Well, the main thing is if you're listening to this on the day it goes up, Friday, June 7th, that'll be the day after this goes up, you can check out the Accessibility Summer Showcase at 4pm UK, 11am Eastern, 8am Pacific, over on twitch.tv/LauraKBuzz or youtube.com/LauraKBuzz. We've got sign language interpreted versions of the showcase, we've got audio described versions of the showcase. Tune in for 45 minutes of game trailers and announcements, all focused on, hey, here's a cool game, but also here's what accessibility stuff this game has going on, so you know if you're going to be able to play it or not. If you tune in on Twitch, I will be doing a live stream afterwards playing some of the demos that are announced during the showcase, so you can see a little bit of those games before heading over to Steam, where there's going to be a little dedicated Steam page where you can go find out about all the games. Go check that out. That's the main one for me this week. I have been working my little socks off, and I hope people enjoy it. What about you, Conrad? Where are you out on the internet?
Well, you can find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Instagram and Blue Sky, and you can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman, where I stream on Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. Happy Pride Month! You can get The Gays Can Do Whatever They Want shirts and other Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com. And everything that I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Stephanie Sterling.
That is correct. Patreon.com/Jimquisition, which supports this show and the videos and the reviews on the Jimquisition.com. Latest review is, by the time this is out, the Star Wars Hunters review will be up. So you can check that out. We also did Senua's Saga as well. My next wrestling appearance is this Saturday. I will be at Pride of the Ring 3, which makes me 3 for 3. If you check out PCW on social media, PCW UK, that will get you details. It will be in Blackpool, bell time 12:30pm, so do come check us out. I will also be in Huddersfield again for Tidal Wrestling on July 7th. So check that out. I will be hosting that show. So that'll be fun, and we will see you all next week. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.